we're the largest bamboo plantation company on the planet, really. We basically do bamboo to replace cutting trees for toilet paper and paper towels and things like that. So bamboo's a grass, so we're trying to limit the effects of deforestation and climate change by providing a greener product.
Okay. That's I never even knew bamboo was a grass. Wow. So Mr. Wiseman, you're no stranger to to entrepreneurship, to the business world. Tell us a little bit about your background as far as your first start in business.
Okay, yeah, I grew up in a small community in North Florida, poor community. And I left home when I was 17 with $300. I basically had a wrestling scholarship. Wrestling was my life for a long time, but I didn't really feel like I could be a top wrestler and graduate at the same time. So I decided to just follow my dream. I left home. I went to California, worked 2 jobs for a couple of years. And then when I was 20, I started a clothing company. I know a lot of your listeners are young, and whether they like rap or clothing or T-shirts or whatever. Listen, you can get into that business, pretty reasonably. And so yeah, I just worked until I had a few $1,000s, took my credit card, made a few clothes, went to a trade show and started selling. And then I realized that I priced it all wrong and had to move to Mexico to get them made. And spent a couple of years in Mexico buying sewing machines and sewing clothes. And fortunately for me, God blessed me, and that business turned into a $120 million clothing brand. And I was able to take the company public when I was 27. And yeah, it just was a lot of hard work and sweat and tears, but with no money and no rich parents and no college education, it definitely was challenging. But you can learn what you need to learn, and if you surround yourself with good people and mentors and you work hard, your dreams can come true regardless of the hand that you were dealt as a young person.
Mm-hmm. That's a remarkable story. You literally turned a penny to a dollar, and then a dollar into like something completely different.
That's right.
Now, you did it without a MBA, a master's in business degree. So you just did it on just work ethic and a dream, or how'd you put all that?
Well, what I did is, I have a high school education. So what I did was when I started making clothes, I tried to surround myself with, try to find people that were going to lift me up and build me up. Right. The hard thing when you're young is, trying to find people that are going to make you better than smaller. Right. And so I'm a big believer in trying to find, mentors So, I found some different people, some people from the church, older men in the church, or business people that I ran into. And I just said, hey, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. I really don't know finance. I don't know a lot of things. They say, okay, read this book or whatever. I knew I could sell, right? I knew that I could create something to sell. And, but yeah, I just tried to find a few different people in my life that they didn't have to put in money, but I'd call them and say, what about this? And what about this? And I believe a good mentor is as good, if not better than an education. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have any money to go to school. But you definitely know if you're not hanging around the right people that your dreams aren't going to come true. And if that means leaving like I did, I knew not leaving my environment where I grew up, where I was nobody really. I mean, I was somebody in God's eyes, but I was nobody in the world's eyes. And I didn't have those people. I needed a fresh start. So whether you got a grandmother somewhere or a friend somewhere, if your environment's pulling you down, you need to go get fresh start and get to work.
Yes. Mr. Wiseman, repeat that line one more time about your environment needing to get out. One more time for the young viewers and listeners, please.
Yeah. I'm just, listen, if I would have stayed where I am in this town where I grew up in Ocala, Florida, redneck podunky town that really, if you had money, maybe you could be somebody. If I would have stayed here, listen, maybe I would have ended up in jail. Maybe I would have ended up, in a dead end job. And I knew that, right? I knew that I had to, and now I just needed one person somewhere that I could go crash and rent a room, which is what I did. And then just got it, and then started, just working on my dream. For me personally, as a man of faith, I put a lot of that in God's hands, right? I just said, God, listen, you own the cattle on 1,000 hills, and you own all the cattle, right? And you own all the mountains. And you say, if I put you first, all my dreams will come true. I put them to the test, right? And just continue to pray for good ideas and for people to come into my life that can help me, and promise that if I was successful, to give back. But I knew it wouldn't have happened in my hometown. It just wouldn't have. Too many distractions, too many, just wasn't going to work. So don't be scared to take that chance and leave.
Okay. Now, when you started Bum Equipment Clothing, the clothing industry, it wasn't like a brand new industry, anything like that, but you took it and you made it work for you. Now, what led you into the bamboo industry? Because that's not a well-known industry to like the average Joe.
Yeah, well, after the clothing company, I actually then took some of that capital to help other young entrepreneurs build their dream. So when when you're building your company or entrepreneur, you have this dream, you need capital, right? And one thing that your young people should know, if you have a good idea, money follows good ideas. Don't think that you have to have the money. You come up with a creative idea or a good idea, you'll get the money. Okay. So don't worry about that. You just got to worry about what you're passionate about and how it's good. Listen, it could be urban farming where you live, or it could be anything that there's a need. Right. Basically I just went into that because, it was something I could afford, right, for a little bit of money, right? And so I really wasn't that passionate about being in the clothing business. I was passionate about working for myself and trying to build something where I could change my circumstances that I was born into.
Okay.
And then the bamboo was different. The bamboo was something where I saw this world, the environment going downhill, right? People are cutting trees faster than anything. It's not sustainable. If you look at the population growth and how many trees are getting cut down all over the world, people don't realize about toilet paper and paper towels. It's a 70 to 100-year-old tree that you're throwing down the toilet after 1 second of use. 100 years to grow, and you throw it away in 1 second. So I said, listen, that's not right. And so bamboo's a fast-growing plant, but nobody had ever commercialized it. It's mostly in Asia. They make it for flooring. They make it for handicrafts. But I knew that if I could do it at a grand scale, like a forest, that I could, because bamboo is a woody fiber just like a tree. Okay.
Okay.
And so I just said, listen, two things I wanted to do. One is I wanted to create jobs for poor people, because having grown up in my economic circumstances, one of the things that I told God is, listen, I want to give back, right? And so I wanted to go where there was people that were living on a few dollars a day that had, needed a livelihood. So I was, listen, I'm a capitalist. I'm what I call a conscious capitalist, which means there's winners. Everybody wins. You work together. It's not like Wall Street where you got a winner and a loser, right? Which is what happens, right? So if you do it right. So I wanted to go somewhere where there was poor. I started first in Nicaragua. Then I went to
Central America.
Central America. Then
Okay.
I went to South Africa, and I picked a place in South Africa, had 90% unemployment, right? These people were just barely scraping by. And then of course I went to Ghana, and where I know you have some roots there, and Rwanda, but I wanted to go where I could make a difference, and really what's about social impact and environmental impact, and doing it in a way that could be profitable. So what got me into bamboo was really trying to have a legacy, build a company that mattered, right? And that's really, and solve a major problem that nobody was solving. So that's what drove me into that. But I didn't, like clothing, I knew nothing about bamboo. Listen, I couldn't even hardly grow a garden when I started this business. But I surrounded myself with people that were good at growing, that understood things. And so what I knew was people. And I know that if you treat people, not like a number, and you treat them with respect. And I'll give you one quick example. In Nicaragua, since Latin America culture doesn't treat women like they should in general, right? There's not a lot of women in the workforce. Maybe 3-4% women in the workforce. We're at 30, okay? And we bring people in and we say, look, we don't care. Your race doesn't matter. Your gender doesn't matter. If you're rich or poor doesn't matter. If you're Democrat or Republican, they have different parties, and that doesn't matter. You check all that at the gate when you come to EcoPlanet, okay? You work hard and you can rise, right? Well, now we have 2 presidents of countries, that one started at the very bottom, who are now the presidents of our operations in those countries, started from the very bottom. Okay. And 2 are women, right? And in Nicaragua, when we raised up this girl named Mary Louisa, started in the nursery, because the women usually start in the nursery, right? They're not lifting heavy stuff, whatever. She worked her way up to assistant manager, plantation manager, worked hard, right? Always showed up. When we made her plantation manager, we had 127 men walk off the job on strike because they don't want to work for a woman. This is in Central America. She came crying. We said, Mary Louisa, you earned this job, right? If we have to hire all new people and we're shut down for 6 months, you got this job. And luckily for us, all but 9 men came back to work once they knew we were serious. She was qualified. She was good. She earned it. And so sometimes you need to be careful not to adapt to a culture that isn't necessarily right. You need to adapt to a culture that's morally right, not culturally right, right? So, but yeah, that's what got us into it. So we're real proud of our people. Our success is our people, and we love them. So
it's always a blessing when you can come up with a business that's yours. The business is helping people, employing people, but it's also helping the environment. That's like very, very rare. That's a true blessing.
Yeah. And listen, you can do it there, but I know when I first talked to you and met you, you're talking about even like urban farming and things like that, right? Does the same thing, right? You're doing something good. You're helping the environment. You're helping your community. But your viewers shouldn't worry. Listen, like I said, I left with $300. Now I had to work 2 jobs for almost 2 years, right? I worked at a bank as a teller, and then I worked on a Hispanic landscaping crew on the weekends, right? I mean, I had no fun, right? So your young people need to know, don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't be, it's instant now. I need the car now. I need the TV. I need the X, right? If you're serious, you buckle down, right? And you give it a few years and you'll get there.
Okay. Now, EcoPlanet, are you hiring in the States or hiring more at like the other locations? Like
we hire within we like to hire local people within, right? So in Nicaragua, Nicaraguans, and South Africa, South Africans. A lot of the big U.S. companies, they'll bring in U.S. people, or they'll bring in English, people from London or whatever. They don't want to hire within, right? Because they think that they're not smart enough, or they don't have the education. And a lot of that's true. But what you have to do is you have to build that capacity in them, because you want the locals to benefit, right? You don't want what they call expats, right? So we're now, if we have to bring somebody in to train, like in South Africa, we had a girl that her village, she was the only one in the village that went to college. And she had no experience. So we had to bring somebody in to train her for a year that wasn't from South Africa, but then she took over, right? So sometimes you have to mentor them along the way, but we're a big believer, you wanna do it locally. Now for us, most of our people are international, but we will be building our first green pulp and paper facility in the US here soon. And then obviously we'll hire people from the US for that. But I think it's important that listen, even with your viewers, if they're doing something in your community, right? the more you can have the community get behind what you're doing and empower them to be part of that, yeah, I think that's healthier for the company culture, at least.
Okay. I'm glad I asked that question because with my youth podcast, I have viewers, interesting combination of viewers. I got viewers in local Detroit, Michigan area. Then I have viewers in Ghana, mostly young basketball players because of my sports background. And then I got viewers, all over. So
well, we're expanding. Ghana's the footprint that we're expanding the most. That's our next big push.
Okay.
And we will be hiring a lot of people there. We'll probably start that fourth quarter Q1. We'll probably hire 500-600 people.
What wonderful. Some of my viewers are watching. They're out in Kumasi, Ghana. A couple of them play basketball at like the local college in Kumasi, and they're not doing anything because of COVID. So they're tuning in. So that's something for them to take a look at.
Yeah, great. And just info at EcoPlanet Bamboo. They can drop us so you can find us on the website. But absolutely, we need good people. Listen, I love hiring athletes because they're disciplined. They're teachable, right? Most good athletes had to be coached.
Yes.
And so, there's a couple of things I think that are important for maybe more so the younger listeners and viewers, but it's important to know what you know and know what you don't know. Okay. And so, it's really why we try not to hire too many people from like Ivy League schools or whatever, because give me a young, hungry kid that went to a no-name school that just wants to be somebody, and they work out better most of the time. I'm not making a general. I'm not dissing Ivy League schools, right? I mean, I'm just saying that typically what happens is they think they know more than they know because of the school they graduated. So you want to know what you know and know what you don't know. And if you don't know, just learn it or just say it. Don't be embarrassed. And there's a saying that says, if a person doesn't know and they don't know that they don't know, shun them, for they're a fool, right? They think they know everything. If a person doesn't know and they know that they don't know, teach them, okay? And if a person knows and they know that they know, follow them, for they are wise. So most times you're in this place where, you don't know what you don't know it, so you learn it. And then when you learn it, you're a leader. The people will follow you. So just don't, humility, I guess the key to that story is
it takes humility. A level of humility. Yeah,
you got to have humility. And if you have humility, not only God will honor that, but that'll get you really, really far in life.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. So now, running a corporation takes up a lot of time. What are you doing for self-care? Because I'm pretty big on self-care with the young viewers as well.
Yeah, you have to certainly exercise, right? So, every day, right? Now it could be 30 minutes, it can be circuit training, it can be whatever, but you need to basically keep, body, body, mind, and spirit, right? It has to be healthy. What you're putting in your body matters, right? That's gonna keep you strong or weak or lazy, depends on what you're putting in your body. But yeah, you need to get on a strict, basically disciplined system. So it doesn't got to be a lot, but you definitely need to have some physical exercise. You need to be able to, have a day to unwind, right? Like today, right? I mean, I go to church on Sunday, then I went kayaking and just get in nature, but then I'll power out all through the week. So, you got to have that balance. And really, I can't stress enough, being around people that want to see you successful and that are going to be there for you and not try to take you in the wrong direction.
Gotcha. Mr. Wiseman, I appreciate, all these jewels of wisdom. I can't let you get off the show until I ask this last question. So if someone was to play your life story, the movie, the Troy Wiseman story, which actor would it be and why?
Wow.
Put you on the spot at the end.
Wow. Maybe Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
He's a Southern boy like me. But he has a heart for people, and and even the roles that he plays are controversial, right? And some of his roles were very controversial, but he did it around issues that matter, not just for white people, but for everybody,
civil rights
right?
as well.
Everything, right? So listen, I think that a lot of the stuff, listen, even what's going on now, Black Lives Matters and social injustice and stuff, I'm very in tune to that one, and to me, it's not really, to me, it's because of how I feel in my faith. I believe it's a sin issue, not an equality issue. The Bible says God created man in his image. It didn't say white men, black men, brown men. It was, we're all God's image, right? So the issue is, I feel the more we get focused on what's right biblically and what God would do, all this other stuff is nonsense. It would fall away, And so I think it's just really keeping your moral compass where it should be, and then all this racism and inequality, and listen, it's real, right? I see it, right? But you don't. It helps a lot of those barriers come down when. And listen, I'm fortunate enough because I got I do a lot of we got a lot of employees in Africa and Central America. I mean most of my what I call my family, right, are not white.
Are people of color, right?
And so but they're God's children, right? And just like I am, and they make mistakes and they're not perfect, just like I am. But the more you put all that into that context, I think that the better the world would be. That's just my personal view.
That's very that's really on point with the Matthew McConaughey then. Respect to Matthew McConaughey as well. With that being said, Mr. Wiseman, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. It's been hard for me to get, local professionals in the area to come and share some wisdom with the youth. And here you are as the CEO, millions of dollars. You took the time out of your schedule. So that being said, I want to salute you, Mr. Wiseman, for coming on the show, sir.
Thanks for asking me. And listen, you got my information. If some of your viewers come or they got some questions, listen, I want to inspire people. I love people. I want to see people's dreams come true. So if they reach out to you or they want to reach out to me or people in Ghana or whatever, give them my information. And listen, I'm open. I just want to see them successful and ultimately be who they should be.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Wiseman.
All right, brother. All right.
Have a good one.
All right. God bless.